Bryan Gaiser is an investment advisor representative of Advisory Alpha LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed by Bryan Gaiser are solely his own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Advisory Alpha. This recording is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Investment advisory and financial planning services offered through Advisory Alpha LLC, a registered investment advisor. Insurance, coaching, and educational services offered through Gaiser Financial Group. Gaiser Financial Group is a separate and unaffiliated entity of Advisory Alpha LLC. While tax and legal services may be discussed in the general course of financial and investment planning, Advisory Alpha does not provide tax or legal services. Please consult with your tax or legal professional prior to making decisions related to these issues. This material is not endorsed or approved by the Social Security Office or any other government agency. An annuity is a long-term financial product designed largely for asset accumulation and retirement needs. All guarantees are backed by the claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. All opinions expressed by externally cited sources are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Advisory Alpha. This is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. The case studies presented reflects the specific circumstances of one client and should not be considered a guarantee that another client or potential client may experience the same or certain level of results. This is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as investment recommendations or solicitation. Names have been changed to protect the anonymity of clients and are not testimonials in nature. Learn, grow, and take charge of your retirement. This is the Wealth Through Wisdom podcast with financial advisor Bryan Gaiser, founder of Gaiser Financial Group.
Fall feels are creeping in. Where are you on the pumpkin spice conversation? Have we had this conversation before? The pumpkin spice movement over the last decade has been one that
my wife loves that stuff. I'm not into it. You like it, don't you?
Here's the thing. I enjoy a pumpkin spice latte, but I also, there's a time and a place, the pumpkin spice candles and air fresheners and all of those things, everything that's pumpkin spice flavored, I'm like, okay, we might be going a little too far.
Yep.
Dial it back a little bit.
I agree. Chapstick.
Chapstick.
Oh my gosh.
I haven't seen that one yet.
I'm sure it's there.
I believe you. If it's not, you just put the idea into the universe, Bryan. Someone is going to market that.
Yeah. Pumpkin spice foot odor spray. No, I'm teasing, of course. But it's just everything. They hop on it. It's all about that marketing.
That's it.
Now we're a few weeks into football and everything else this summer. It's really feeling like fall and winter. I mean, summer kind of set out pretty quick, didn't it? I mean, part of summer was nippy in the mornings. I've liked it myself.
Yeah, it's been a nice transition. So here we are into the fall weeks. Something that you may or may not know, dear listener. September, in fact, is Life Insurance Awareness Month. And you might think to yourself, really? That seems also, it's kind of like going to the pumpkin spice thing. Like we have to have a whole month. But the fact of the matter is, Bryan, and you can really speak to this. That's what I want you to do today on the radio. People just don't realize how far life insurance can go for them to benefit them in so many different ways, particularly in retirement. So thinking about life insurance, for many of us, the first thing that often comes to mind is how it will cover your loved ones if something were to happen to you. A lot of us think about that term life insurance we get when we're in our 20s, got a young family. If you're a one-income family household, if something were to happen to that earner, how would your family be taken care of? But let's talk about how the other ways that we might be not unaware of, we might be missing as far as how life insurance can be used in retirement planning and the work that you do.
You know, it reminds me of a client about 3 years ago. Yeah. He and his wife, he retired early. This is about not quite a decade ago, about 9 years ago. And about 6 years into his retirement, he had an incident at the dinner table where he choked on food, lost oxygen to the brain. Oh, wow. So it definitely, it was in the hospital for a long time trying to just regain and go through all the therapy to get his speech back, which isn't fully back today, 3 years later. And they say after about 1 year, you pretty much accomplished all you're going to accomplish. And this is what you got to live with. So for the last 2 years, his wife's been dealing with that. And he retired early and they figured, all right, we'll pay off the house. We'll be able to pay it off eventually during retirement. This is fine. But then this incident happened. Or at the beginning of that, I said, well, what happens to you two if something happens to one of you and you're not able to pay off this house?
This was before he had the accident.
Before he had the accident, before he retired.
Okay.
Well, then he retired. And he decided, yep, because in good health, 64 years old, 63 years old, somewhere in that range. We got the life insurance policy. We just did a 10-year term because they felt very strong they could pay it off within that 10 years. Just in case something happened. Yep, talking about the mortgage, correct. Okay. Talking about the mortgage. So they had a mortgage. That was their biggest concern. They get that paid off. They felt good about the pension and the insurance and the Social Security pension, if you will, taking care of things. I said, well, they hadn't saved a tremendous amount. I said, this is going to be cutting it a little close. Well, they end up with this policy that is now about a year from that 10-year mark. But you know what we added to it? A rider where they could convert it to permanent, because we don't know what's going to happen to you, right?
So what does that mean, a rider that can convert it to permanent?
So you're in a life insurance policy that has a 10-year term, and then that would have been the end of it, right?
Okay.
You let it go. If you try to keep it as an annual renewable term, those prices go through the moon.
Okay.
Well, this policy had it where it doesn't matter about health. He can convert it to a permanent policy. So we converted it, and ran up. It did increase the price by about $100.
Okay.
Converted it. Now she has that policy because he's not doing well again.
Got it.
And I'm sure complications from what's going on. I don't dig but so deep.
Yeah.
But the thing is, now if something does happen to him, the house will be paid for. That less of a payment every month is more than enough between the pension and the surviving Social Security.
Okay.
That she will be fine, and the additional funds left over from the life insurance policy.
Okay.
Plus what they have saved, and that we've been working reasonably well during this time. But without it, there's no doubt in her mind she would have to sell this home. You know, she still has the exclusion. When you sell your home and it's your primary resident, she has $250, he has $250. She is still thinking about selling the house because real estate had done so well. But now it's starting to slow down.
It's about having the
if you're
option,
thinking about it,
because with everything else she's got going on, let's not add insult to injury by being forced to do something. Yeah.
Exactly. Now it's her choice.
Right.
And the house is a little bit bigger than what probably one person would want.
Yeah.
So she is thinking about it. But selling the house plus those additional funds, go ahead and get the home you want, still feeling forced to sell your house and then try to find a home. Now she's in a position where she can do what she needs to do in the event of. And they're still thinking about moving just because of all the complications, because he can't get up and walk today. He can speak very little. He can interpret things, but very slowly, and it's getting worse.
Okay.
So thank God that had that extension, because what if he lived 10 years one day? He just lost his policy, right? Or 10 years, 31 days, because you got a 30-day window where you could have paid that next payment. But the point is, it's really important, if you are doing a term policy, make sure you can convert it to a permanent policy. Did it cost a couple of more dollars? Yeah. But that was a cheap price to pay to maintain that insurance, especially under the circumstances.
Yeah.
I know a lot of you are thinking, hey, do we have enough? What if something big like that happens to me? 336-586-5861. 336-586-5861. One dinner changed their whole life, changed their whole trajectory in retirement. And the one thing that probably gives him peace, and what little I can communicate with the gentleman, does give him peace. I know it does, by the nodding of his head is much stronger when he says your wife's going to be taken care of. Don't get caught.
Yeah.
You do the right thing. Make sure, hey, have I covered my bases in retirement? That's what this appointment is about. We go through a checklist and make sure that you've covered your bases, or at least considered it and then excluded it.
Yeah. Making sure that you have options in front of you. You know what those options are, not just for yourself, but Bryan, this is not about the actual individual policyholder. This is about the protection of his spouse, his wife, his family. And that's what these kinds of little details that you work on every single day, that's what it's about. It's about protecting the person and their family and their future. That's the point of the kind of plan that you build. They're building every single day in the office. They can build for you as well. 336-586-5861. A few minutes left before we got to go to commercial break, Bryan, but I wanted to ask you, because you brought up the idea of that policy they had a rider that allowed them to roll it over outside of that 10-year window.
Allowed them to convert it.
Yep. Thank you. Allowed them to convert it. Let's talk about riders, because something else that comes up for a lot of people is long-term care. And long-term care insurance is a standalone for a lot of people. It's just very expensive and it's not optimal. But there are long-term care rider options on some life insurance policies as well that can be helpful, right?
You'll find it more on permanent. I have a client, he come in here 63 years old, came from one of my classes, and I do a lot of classes on a regular basis. And discussing just what we talk about on the radio. But the bottom line is, he came in, says, yeah, he bought a policy way back when, right? When he was 28, something like that. He had about $103,000 in cash value. It's a permanent policy.
Okay.
Well, policies today that I said, well, that lump sum without taking a penny out of your pocket, to make the long and short of this real quick.
Yeah.
What we're able to do is buy a policy that's really built for long-term care, but it's a life insurance policy.
Okay.
So he puts that 103 over. We bring it over, right? And it finances the life insurance policy we just bought. Gives him day one, in his case, $374,000 of long-term care benefit. Has a 3% rider on it also, which is called he has every year that policy improves by 3% on the long-term care benefit. Okay. Remember, it's built for long-term care.
Yeah.
Something happens to him in the short term, his family gets $170,000.
Okay.
Well, clearly we didn't do it for the life insurance. We did it for the living, because the long-term care would hurt them more than the event there's not enough in life insurance, because he's got pretty strong savings. Everything's paid for. But long-term care, that could be $100,000, $110,000, $120,000 a year. Yeah. If you're in a nursing home, you need full care. So what we were able to do in a 30-day turnaround is give him a long-term care policy he never has to pay another penny into.
Oh, wow.
It has an inflation rider at 3%. So every year the base goes up by 3% compound every single year. If you say, give me back my money, they'd give him back 100 of it. That's not bad out of 103. If he passes away and doesn't use it, they give his family tax-free 170. And he has that 374. It's starting next year. It's up by about another, not quite $12,000, but it's going to grow about just under 12. Wow. And it's going to keep growing and growing and growing and growing and growing till either he passes away and they get the death benefit, or he needs that long-term care. So he knows he'll be fine, but his wife won't be fine if something happens to him. Right. He wants to make sure she was taken care of, just like the story I told you before.
Yeah.
336-586-5861. It's not about the different life insurance, the annuity, the investment advice that you receive. It's not about those things. It's about solving problems. It's about strategy. It's about taking what you have and making the most of it. If that is important to you, if your family's just as important to you as those folks I just talked about, and I'm sure it is, 336-586-5861. Remember that number. Write that number down if you're not driving. 336-586-5861. Come in. It's all about the strategies. That's what Gaiser Financial Group specializes in.
A local, independent financial advisor with offices in Greensboro. Bryan and his team here to show you how to take advantage of opportunities that you might not even realize that you have with existing things that you already own. And in the case of life insurance, a lot of people don't realize there might be opportunities to convert in a different way or to create a long-term care strategy for yourself without having to invest significantly more money. It's just about empowering yourself with the information of what you have and creating a plan to help you achieve the goals that you have for this next phase of your financial life. Again, that number to dial, 336-586-5861. Let's put a time on the calendar for you to meet with Bryan and his team for this initial no obligation, no fee review, just a space for you to empower yourself with information. Bryan and his team want to show you what your options are. 336-586-5861.
Thanks for listening to the Wealth Through Wisdom podcast. To learn more, visit geiserfinancial.com. Bryan Gaiser is an investment advisor representative of Advisory Alpha LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed by Bryan Gaiser are solely his own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Advisory Alpha. This recording is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Investment advisory and financial planning services offered through Advisory Alpha LLC, a registered investment advisor. Insurance, coaching, and educational services offered through Gaiser Financial Group. Gaiser Financial Group is a separate and unaffiliated entity of Advisory Alpha LLC. While tax and legal services may be discussed in the general course of financial and investment planning, Advisory Alpha does not provide tax or legal services. Please consult with your tax or legal professional prior to making decisions related to these issues. This material is not endorsed or approved by the Social Security Office or any other government agency. An annuity is a long-term financial product designed largely for asset accumulation and retirement needs. All guarantees are backed by the claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. All opinions expressed by externally cited sources are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Advisory Alpha. This is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. The case studies presented reflects the specific circumstances of one client and should not be considered a guarantee that another client or potential client may experience the same or certain level of results. This is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as investment recommendations or solicitation. Names have been changed to protect the anonymity of clients and are not testimonials in nature.